as Hollywood is mourning the loss of actor Gene Hackman and his wife.
New details emerging about the mysterious deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife and dog.
That's right. Let's get right to Briella Tom.
On February 26, 2025, Jess Kessler, a contractor who'd been working for Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa for 16 years, pulled up to their Santa Fe home. It was a regular gig, fixing up the place for a couple he'd grown close to over time. He'd been in and out of that house for years, knew its layout, knew their habits. But that day felt wrong from the jump. The front door was unlocked. Not a huge red flag in a small town like Santa Fe, where people still trust their neighbors, but the quiet hit him hard. No voices, no dogs barking, just a heavy stillness that made his skin crawl. He stepped inside, boots scuffing the floor, and called out, "Gene? Betsy?" Nothing. He moved toward the mudroom, a small space off the entryway where Gene kept his outdoor stuff. That's where he saw him. Gene Hackman, 95 years old, sprawled on the tile. His cane was a few feet away, tipped over like he'd dropped it mid-step. His sunglasses, those iconic shades he'd worn since his Hollywood days, were next to his hand. He wasn't moving. Jesse froze. "Gene," he said again, louder, hoping for a twitch, a breath, anything. Nothing came. His heart was pounding now. He bolted deeper into the house, shouting for Betsy. The living room was empty, the kitchen untouched, dishes still in the sink, a coffee mug half full on the counter. He hit the hallway and pushed into the bathroom. There she was, Betsy Arakawa, 65, crumpled on the floor. Pills were scattered across the tiles, white, yellow, some crushed underfoot. A space heater lay on its side, cord tangled around her legs like she tripped over it. Her face was pale, eyes half open, staring at nothing. Jess's knees buckled. He couldn't process it. Two people he'd known for over a decade dead, just like that. Then he noticed the dogs. Zinna, their little shadow who followed Betsy everywhere, was gone. Jess would find her later, dead in a closet, stiff and cold. But Bear and Nikita, the other two, were alive, pacing the house. Their ribs were showing, eyes wild, like they hadn't eaten in days. Water bowls were bone-dried, food bags unopened in the pantry. How long had they been like this? How long had Gene and Betsy been lying there? Jesse stumbled outside, fumbling for his phone. His hands wouldn't stop shaking as he dialed 911. "Please send somebody really quick. I found two deceased," he yelled, voice breaking. The operator tried to calm him down, asking for details, address, names, what he saw. "They're not awake, not alert," he stammered, choking on the words. "I don't know what happened." He was sobbing by the end, leaning against his truck, staring at the house he worked on for years. The call lasted 4 minutes, but it felt like hours. Santa Fe Sheriff's deputies rolled up fast. 2 cars, lights flashing, gravel crunching under tires. Sheriff Adam Mendoza was on scene within the hour. They cordoned off the property, yellow tape snapping in the wind. Inside, they found no blood, no smashed windows, no signs anyone had forced their way in. Just 2 bodies, a dead dog, and 2 survivors too hungry to bark. Mendoza didn't call it a crime. Not yet, but he didn't like the vibe. Suspicious, he told the press later that day. "We've got questions. How did 2 people die in their home? And nobody notices for days? What happened here?" That was the hook. A mystery that started with a contractor's worst day and a 911 call nobody wanted to make. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Department didn't waste time. By February 27, they had a team combing the house. Deputies, forensic techs, a pathologist from the state medical examiner's office. First stop, Gene's body. At 95, he'd been slowing down, heart issues, mobility problems, the kind of stuff that comes with age. The key was his pacemaker, a little device stitched into his chest years ago. They pulled the data. It logged its last heartbeat on February 17, 2025, 9 days before Jesse found him. Sheriff Mendoza broke it down at a press conference that week. The pathologist says that's likely when he died. His heart stopped, and that was it. So Gene's timeline was locked in. February 17, mudroom floor, cardiac arrest. It fit. Pacemakers don't lie. He'd probably been heading out or coming in cane in hand when it hit. No foul play, no struggle, just a 95-year-old body giving out. But Betsy, that was murkier. No pacemaker, no tech to timestamp her last moment. She was in the bathroom, pills everywhere, prescription stuff, mostly Jean's heart meds, some painkillers. No blood, no bruises, no obvious trauma. The space heater was a clue, knocked over maybe when she fell, but it wasn't hot when deputies got there. Had it been running for days? They tested for carbon monoxide anyway. Nothing. The house was clean on that front. Forensic expert Dr. Michael Baden, brought in as a consultant, laid out a theory on Fox Report a few days later. Jean's heart quits on the 17th, he said, voice flat, clinical. He drops in the mudroom. Betsy finds him, her husband of 40 years, dead on the floor. She panics, runs for his meds in the bathroom, maybe to check if there's something she can do. But she's 65, stressed, maybe not in perfect health herself. She trips, falls, hits her head, or her own heart gives out. Pills spill, heater goes down with her. She doesn't get up. It tracked, sort of. The scene matched. Jean alone. Betsy surrounded by chaos like she'd been scrambling. But it left holes. Why no 911 call? Betsy had a phone, found later in the kitchen, battery dead. Did she not have time? Was she too shaken to think straight? And the pills, were they Jean's, hers, or both? Toxicology was pending, could take weeks. The sheriff's team bagged every bottle, every stray tablet, dozens of samples sent to the lab. They checked the dogs too. Zina, dead in the closet, had no food or water for days, starvation, dehydration, locked in or stuck. Bear and Nikita survived by luck, maybe scrounging scraps. 9 days was the gap, February 17 to 26. How did nobody notice? Mendoza dug into their lives. Jean and Betsy were private. No staff, no live-in help. Neighbors said they kept to themselves, especially lately with Jean homebound. Phone records showed no calls out after the 17th, and no one had knocked on their door. They weren't the type to broadcast trouble, Mendoza said. That's why it took so long. Still, he didn't buy it completely. No suicide notes, no overdose vibes, just a weird, quiet end. Foul play wasn't off the table. Someone could slipped in, staged it, but nothing pointed that way yet. No fingerprints but theirs, no tracks in the yard. Just a house frozen in time, waiting for Jesse to break the silence. Behind the headlines, Jean Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were more than a mystery. They were people. Jess Kessler, the guy who found them, knew that better than most. A week after, he posted online, Jean and Betsy, thank you for 16 years of friendship and trust. Jean, you worked beside me like one of the guys. I couldn't believe I was swinging a hammer with a legend. Betsy, you loved my dogs, my sons, always had advice when I needed it. You were beautiful inside and out. He couldn't talk about that day without his voice cracking. Minus 16 years of jobs, chats, shared beers, gone in one brutal morning. Friends Daniel and Barbara Lenihan, who'd known them for 30-plus years, saw the decline. Jean was slipping these last couple months, Barbara said, weaker, quieter. Daniel nodded, homebound mostly. Betsy kept him going, puzzles, yoga, anything to keep his mind sharp. Their son Aaron chimed in. They were tight, one of the tightest couples I've seen. Real partners, kind, reserved, but fun when you got them talking. Jean, the Oscar-winning actor, had left Hollywood behind decades ago for a quieter life with Betsy in Santa Fe. She'd been his rock since they married in 1991. Then there's Martin Padilla from Santa Fe Tales, who cared for their dogs. Betsy was devoted to those animals, he said. Zina wouldn't leave her side. They were glued together. No way the dog died without a reason. The couple were regulars with the local Humane Society, donated cash, even bought Christmas dinners for Padilla's staff every year. Generous, kind, private, he said. This doesn't add up. To him, Betsy starving with Zina trapped didn't fit the woman he knew. She'd have fought for those dogs. That's the gut punch. Two people who lived big, loved hard, and faded out alone. Jean, the tough guy actor from The French Connection, and Betsy, the fierce, loyal wife who kept him grounded, reduced to a 911 call and a sheriff's report. Their stories got no tidy ending yet. Tox reports might shift the narrative, might not. but it's real, raw, and hits you where it counts. No golden shadow bullshit, just the truth of what was lost. The probe into Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths is a slow burn, but it's picking up steam.